Hello everybody, it's Milo here, and we're at 401 Games in Toronto, Ontario at the midnight pre-release for Battle for Zendikar. I hope I'm going to open up a Gideon and an Ulamog, but most likely I'll open no playable rares, but that's okay because commons in this set are like rares in other sets. Everything costs 8, they all have trample, and they're all ginormous. So we'll see what happens. I'll show off my deck in a bit, and we're going to ask some of the players here some trivia questions to see how much they know about Battle for Zendikar. Oh, Promo Gideon. So I'm here with M. M, tell me about the deck that you built today at the pre-release.
It's a fast deck, red-white, just kind of get at ya.
Get at your deck here at Battle for Zendikar. Seems pretty good. I have trivia questions, and if you get it right, you're going to win a small prize. Do you know Battle for Zendikar well?
Relatively well, yes. I read the website thing.
Tough question for you then. Ulamog's Despoiler is a 5/5 for 6 mana, and if you put 2 cards your opponent's own from exile into their owner's graveyard, how many counters does it enter the battlefield with?
4.
That's correct! You crushed it! Well done, sir. I'm here with Ryan, and Ryan's going to try some of this trivia. Do you know the set well?
Kinda.
All right. So, tough question for Ryan. Grip of Desolation is a 6-mana instant spell that has Devoid. It exiles 2 different permanents. What permanent types does it exile?
It exiles creatures and enchantments.
This creature and land.
Oh.
Sorry, Ryan. Okay, I'm going to show you the deck that I built and the cards that I played. I, first of all, just ran basic lands. I didn't have any non-basics. For creatures, I have Serene Steward. I actually really did not like this card. I think it's great if you have an ally theme deck, but otherwise 2/2s for 2 in this format aren't that great. There's a lot of 2/3s. Krellhelm Guide, who I actually liked a lot more. Being able to make a creature unblockable is pretty good when every deck is running creatures that cost 7 mana. Eldrazi Sky Spawner. This card was fantastic. I very much like this card. I think it was the best creature that puts in Eldrazi at common. See, for 2 and a white, this is just a 2/2 flying. I was also playing that. So if you compare these two cards, you're getting a lot more value out of this one. You're getting an additional 1/1 creature that you can sack for mana as opposed to 1 toughness here. And I was playing both these cards. So for 4 mana, Incubator Drone. What I would find sometimes if I missed my 4th land drop, which is, you know, brutal in this format, but I missed my 4th land drop, so I dropped this guy on turn 3 and then sacked the Scion to play this on turn 4 because it generates another Scion. So basically what I'm doing is instead of 3 and a blue, 2 and a blue for 2/3. I do like the Courier Griffin, 4 mana, 2/3 flyer. When it comes into play, you gain 2 life because it can block the turn it comes into play. Not a lot of the flyers that you would cast would you block with the turn it comes into play. That's usually the problem with flyers like this one over here, Cloud Manta. When you play this card on turn 4, you can actually use it to block, so you're going to take some damage on turn 4. But this guy being a 2/3, there are a lot of 2/2s in the format that you can block or deter your opponent from swinging. I really like this card, Merc Strider. I didn't have a lot of ways to ingest my opponent, so it being its ingestibility didn't come into play that often, but when it did, it was like extremely good. This is the reason I decided to play blue. I had double Wind Rider Patrol. In a lot of ways, these guys are basically rares in the format. Flying is super important, and being 4/3 flyers for 5 with an ability when they hit the opponent, they're quite good. I was also really happy with this card, 6 mana, 3/4 flyer with landfall, gets +2/+2. So if you just think about it as a 6 mana, 3/4 flyer that blocks the turn it comes into play, and then afterwards it's a 5/6 flyer on the offensive. A card that used to be a mythic, and now it's just a rare, but still very good. It's Felidar Sovereign. Unfortunately, I never drew it. It's 4/6 for 6. Vigilance, lifelink at the beginning of your upkeep. If you have 40 or more life, you win the game. I never saw it. 7 mana, we have Bane of Balaged. It's 7/5. When it attacks, defending player exiles 2 permanents he or she controls. There's also Royal's Retribution, which against me was really good once, and when I was playing with it, was always just 5 mana, like destroy target blocking or attacking or blocking creature. So I don't know. There's a lot of better removal spells that do that in the history of Magic, but just the ability to be able to 2 for 1 with this card, or sometimes even 3 for 1, is more than enough reason to play it. Yeah, I wasn't too sure about this spell. Up to 2 creatures each get +1/+2 until end of turn. You gain 2 life, but I was actually happy with it, and I was happy that I had 2. Sometimes I would board 1 out, but even though the creatures can get quite big and these become useless in that case, it still saves your guy sometimes, and sometimes it 2 for 1s. And then we have Tightening Coils. This card also very good. It deals with Eldrazi in a lot of ways, and as well as some of the pesky flyers that are in this format. Spell Shrivel is amazing. I was super happy about this card. It was like the best removal spell in my deck. It's a mana leak, but they have to pay 4, but it costs 3, and then it exiles the thing instead of putting it into the graveyard, which is super useful when you have like things like this. Oh, sorry. Ooh, hey. Things like Merc Strider. Coastal Discovery, I was again super happy with this card as well. I awakened it and I cast it just to draw 2 cards. Both modes I was pretty happy with. A card I was not happy with at all was Aligned Hedron Network. Most of the time this card was in my hand, it was a blank. I only successfully used it, I think, once, and a lot of times I'd be staring down like 3 creatures that all had 4 power, and I'd have this in my hand and it would do nothing. One of the things that I could have done if I had it was pump my opponent's creatures, because this says up to 2 target creatures, not that you control, just target creatures. So I could have pumped 2 of the creatures and then played the aligned Hedron network to exile them. Unfortunately, that situation never came up. A lot of decks are going to want to play this, a 7 mana instant remove anything spell. I think it's quite good, especially at common, and it gives every deck an out to Eldrazi. So part the Water Veil I was lucky enough to open. Take an extra turn after this one, and then you exile it, and it awakens for 9. I actually did manage to awaken it once, but I just think overall it's a pretty good spell in the format. It's not like a pick over everything bomb, but it is pretty good. And we have a Gideon ally of Zendikar, so I was lucky that I grabbed this as my promo card. It was amazing. I cast it on turn 4 one game, and it was just like, okay, game's over. But I did draw it once when I was way behind, and it saved me for a turn. But yeah, it couldn't win me that game. Still, I think this card is fantastic, and I'm really happy I got a foil one just in case I decide to include it in my regular cube.